Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning. It is 7 o'clock here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, and Thursday, August the 12th. I'm happy to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And the chat room open. If anybody's up and wants to sit in there, that's great. If not, that's all right. We're going to continue talking about codependency and then begin talking about narcissism, because it kind of goes together. And it's very interesting to me, like I said before on all my shows, like last week and this week as well, that I didn't know a whole lot about codependency and narcissism. So, excuse me, I'm actually finding this very much an educational couple of weeks for myself, and hopefully you're getting something out of it as well. So, I'm not a professional counselor or therapist. I don't hold any certificates in those areas. I'm just a private citizen who pays to do my own shows. I'm a survivor myself of child abuse. I just want to be one more voice out there for people, so that just to be a voice of hope, really, to say, we can do this. We have to hang in there. We have to keep reaching out and get help no matter what it is. Whether you find a counselor, a therapist, group support, find a good friend to talk to, somebody. If you're having a hard time, call a crisis line. I just wanted to be a voice out here for people who are suffering because they were abused as children. Because I know exactly what that's all about. And 3 years ago, about 3.5 years ago actually now, I was sitting on a couch, and I wasn't attempting to commit suicide, but what I was doing was sitting there thinking the same things I had been thinking for 30-odd years cognitively. That my life was just so painful. My heart, the pain in my heart was just too much. The things that I had experienced and seen my family go through would always come back and haunt me. And I'd end up in the same place, thinking the same things, that I just, how much more pain can I take? How much more of this can I take? I was kind of thinking the only way I would ever be able to be out of this pain was if I just wasn't here. You know what I mean? If I could just be out of this life. You know what I mean? And so that's why it's so important for me to be able to do these shows. I really appreciate everybody who's tuning in, and for people who have been there and experienced this type of stuff and been so down and so feeling so badly about life and themselves because of abuse, whether it's domestic violence or abuse, child abuse. I've been there, and I just wanted to be one more voice to say, hold on, keep looking for that hope, keep looking for that help, wherever you can find it. Because, 3.5 years ago, I was really attempting to self-injure is what I was going to do. And I had a screwdriver in my hand, and I was going to gouge myself badly. I wanted to show the pain that was in my heart. And I was sitting there holding this screwdriver, and I thought, the only way I'm going to be able to let people see what's going on in my heart is to do this to myself, to gouge myself, to damage myself and hurt myself. And then people would be able to see what was going on in my heart. That's what I wanted to do. And then I sat there and I thought, why would I want to do that? You know what I mean? Nobody in my personal life would have cared or even understood what was going on inside of my head, inside of my heart, And so I put the screwdriver down, and I thought, why am I doing this? The only person that's going to be hurt by this is me. And I've already been through enough abuse. I've been through enough, like all of us out here who have survived abuse of any kind. We've been through enough, We've had enough. And I think that, I'm so glad I made that decision. I put the screwdriver down, I sat back, and I did a lot of long, hard thinking. And I thought, the only people that's going to win out of this situation are my abusers. If I kill myself or if I self-injure, that allows my abusers to win. And I thought, no way. I'm winning this fight. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna heal. I'm gonna move forward at my, on my own journey as good as I can, and I'm gonna start reaching out and get proactive and start learning how to love myself. And I was 41 years old, really, sitting on the couch going through this, And at the age of 41, and I had good things happen in my life over the years, different things would, I've been able to work and maintain jobs and whatnot and everything like that. But then I'd come home, sit on the couch, and it would all come back. And that's where I was 3.5 years ago, right? So I just wanted to be one more voice to let people know, to hang in there, to hold on with whatever you have, get help, right? Don't suffer in silence and allow yourself to for your life to be destroyed because of the abuse that you suffered. That really bums me out. And two of my brothers are gone and due to drug use. One died of a drug overdose in a shelter in Calgary here many years ago, and another brother of mine committed suicide, and he was a cocaine addict. And then the underlying issues behind what they were doing, I'm the only one speaking out about that. Like, my whole family is basically in denial. They think, oh, the only reason why they're gone is because they were drug users. They're not associating the fact their whole lives were this mess. They're not putting themselves in my brother's shoes, my other siblings and other people that knew the family. They're not putting themselves in their shoes and saying, what kind of life did they have as children that would cause them to lead these adult lives that were so dysfunctional and so messed up, and then for them to end up both dead from basically suicide. Right? One of my brothers had tried to commit suicide many times. Finally made it. My other brother that died of a drug overdose, he knew what he was doing. He would take bags of pills, and he would end up dead, and they'd have to revive him, and he'd be in a coma, and he was just a mess. And he was committing suicide too, just a different way, right? So, I took a long, hard look at this, and I thought, man, I have to do something. I cannot sit on the couch any longer. I have to get this, I have to let this out. I have to get help, and I have to move forward. And if the rest of my family doesn't want to come with me, well, that's fine. They can just do their own thing. So they all know what I'm doing, but there's no support, right? I have absolutely no support in this because our family is still so dysfunctional that we cannot sit down and discuss this stuff. Right? And that's the sad part. But, it's up to them. They have to make the decision. If they want to move forward and move on and face the truth and the reality of this whole thing, that's fine. If they don't, I can't stay back there with them. So I am on this journey as far as my family goes on my own. And so without you and my friends here who have tuned in and people who are with me on a regular basis, my friends and whatnot, I'd be very much alone in this, but I'm not because of you all. So thank you so much for tuning in and being here with me. I really appreciate it. And so young people, I just ask that you have someone listen to the show with you because there's a lot of adult content on here. And I just think that the topics of abuse are scary. And so young people, if you haven't heard a whole lot about abuse and about adult survivor issues, it could be kind of confusing for you. And I just think because mainstream society isn't talking about abuse, right? It's not talked about. The only thing we see is the headlines. These poor kids who end up dead and killed at the hands of their parents and caregivers and child sexual predators and whatnot, or they're in the hospital due to the abuse. That's all we ever hear. And we don't ever hear anything about prevention or about adult survivor issues. So that's just the thing. It's not talked about. So if you're a young person and you're listening to my show, I just ask that you have somebody older listen to the show with you who you trust. And they can help you if you have questions, right? So we're going to go on to this article. I really want to start looking at narcissism because it goes sort of along with codependency. Codependency and narcissism. This article is found from Winning Teams. www.winning, WINNING-teams, TEAMS.com and /codependent.html. And we were looking at codependency the last couple of weeks. Now I want to kind of talk about the narcissism, that whole thing, because I don't know a whole lot about it. I have read a little bit here. But it's quite interesting for me to see this stuff because I recognize a lot of it in my family and in myself and in other people, right? So, I don't self-diagnose myself. I never do that. I just, some of the stuff I relate to, some of it I don't. But it's better to get a licensed professional to diagnose us. You know what I mean? We don't want to read something and then say, oh, that's me. I must be narcissistic or I must be codependent because I agree with some of this stuff or I relate to it. That's not the case at all. We might very well relate to some of it and might not be codependent at all. So that's why it's a good idea to have a licensed, counselor, therapist, a licensed professional make these kind of decisions based on what their research findings are, right? From talking to us, if we're going to go and actually try to see if we have some of these issues, right? It's better to have somebody who's licensed to make that call. So, but we'll just take a look at it. I think it's very interesting. It says, are you codependent? Codependents are individuals who become dependent upon narcissists, alcoholics, or drug addicts. And the concept of codependence is derived from the co-alcoholic behavior of spouses and children in chemically dependent family systems. And counselors observed that family members often took on the psychological defenses and survival behaviors of the alcoholic thereby extending the disease from the individual to the entire family. And last week we were reading that, codependent behaviors a lot of times starts because of in dysfunctional families, and because of certain sets of rules and behaviors that are going on within the family cause people, and can cause people, not all the time, but can cause people to be codependent, right? So it has a lot to do with abuse as well, and dysfunction in the home, as well as substance abuse and alcoholics, right? It says, in the same way, codependents take on the psychological defenses and survival behaviors of the narcissist, thereby extending the narcissism from the individual to the entire household or workplace. So we'll look at what narcissism is and what a narcissist person sort of behaves like, right? Codependents often don't know where they end and others begin. There is a lack of clearly defined ego boundaries. And so they go on to say that codependents seek both a security, both at work and at home. So they are drawn to individuals who are or appear to be confident, positive, and self-assured. Narcissists display these very qualities, displaying an air of superiority, grandiosity, and self-importance. And codependents admire these qualities, and narcissists crave admiration. So codependents seek security, and they're drawn to individuals who appear to be confident, positive, and self-assured. And that I totally relate to. I absolutely relate to that. I tend to always navigate to people who are in charge, like bosses, supervisors, things like this at work. I tend to spend a lot of time sort of trying to, not to try to be their friend, but to try to do a good job for them, to try to help them out. And I think that's because I grew up abused by my mom, and mainly my mom and my dad. And because I was abused as a child, I'm looking for someone who's stable, who's confident, who's positive and strong, somebody who's self-assured, because that's what that's the type of behavior that I'm kind of seeking out now in people, you know what I mean? So it's easy for codependents to actually kind of get involved with somebody who is a narcissist. Because narcissists, they go on to talk about that. They say narcissists don't want their superiority challenged, so they engage in relationships with individuals who are prepared to remain subservient to them. Codependents who have been brought up in an environment that ensures they will avoid confrontation, if at all possible, are therefore ideal partners. And this is so exactly true, because I actually see this in relationships that I've had in the past, especially with good friends and bosses and whatnot, where, for long-term relationships, where I was always willing to remain subservient, and I still am to this day. That's my personality, because that's me. Probably because of the way I grew up. But, narcissists don't want their superiority challenged, so they like to have these codependents hanging around them, because they know that they'll never challenge them. They'll just do what they tell them to do. They won't question it. They won't ask questions. They won't cause any problems. They won't rock the boat. And I had this happen in a relationship with mine not too long ago, a few years back, and as soon as I started actually speaking up about stuff that I didn't like that was going on in this relationship with a friend and at work, then the friendship was over. My job was gone. I wasn't fired, but I had to quit because I couldn't work there anymore, because I couldn't handle the stress. And so, because this other person was a narcissist, right, and always feeling very superior, they did not want their superiority challenged. And because I started speaking out about the fact that I didn't like the way this person was treating some of the staff members, I was cut off from a friendship that was over 13 years, where, I was my best friend. This person was my best friend and also my boss. And we thought we would be able to work together for the rest of our lives, but we would have, as long as I would have stayed silent and shut up. See? And I was willing to do that for quite a few years, but towards the end there, I didn't like this person's behavior. And I was like seeing what this person was doing to other staff members, and I was very stressed out about it. And I would talk to the staff members, and I'd say, you know what, this person is just having a hard time. They're not really picking on you, when actually I knew they were, right? But, I was trying to kind of side with this narcissist all the time, and that's from growing up abused, right? I was always trying to side with my mom. I always took my mom's side over my dad's side, always. and for many reasons, right? Because my mother was my main abuser, first of all. So I thought, well, if I take her side, I can avoid some of the abuse, which actually didn't help at all. I even went so far as to attack my dad with a bat one time, because I thought he was attacking her. Actually, he was bothering her. She had just had surgery, and he was I don't know what he was doing, but she was getting more and more upset, and she had major surgery, and she was just about dead, And so she was at home recovering and never should have been, because my dad was obviously not capable of leaving her alone for 10 minutes so she could just heal and get well. So he was in bothering her, and I came in and attacked her because I was always trying to take my mom's side. And of course, that didn't matter if I took my mom's side or not. She was still very much abusive towards me. It didn't count for anything, right? So, there's many reasons why codependents will do that and will stay subservient and take a narcissist's side, even if the narcissist is not behaving properly and doing terrible things. They will still do that, right? So codependents also find it difficult to make decisions, always checking with others before making choices. The narcissist's constant need for attention fits ideally with this characteristic of the codependent, who ends up checking with the narcissist before making decisions. And that was the case with this relationship I had with this person that I worked with. And it was a friendship, and we were best friends. And she just loved it because I would always, I would never kind of just do something on my own because I knew that she wouldn't like that. So I was always checking with her, and any kind of decision that had to be made had to be done, by her. And so I was never able to excel at work because I could never show what I could do. It always had to be okay with her and first, and then she would take it and say, well, this is great, this is my idea. And you just stay there, that lowly person that you are, that subservient person. And, without me, you wouldn't be here. And, she kept me very much under her thumb all the time, just like my mom. When we broke off the relationship and the friendship, I actually told her to her face, because there was a lot of, negativity in the air. She was, yelling and telling me off, and I was yelling and telling her off, and I had to leave that day. We actually broke off our relationship. But I told her just like how I felt, and I said, you're just exactly like my mom. Use me and abuse me, and then just throw me out. That's fine. That's the first time I had said anything like that to her, because she had known about the abuse that I had suffered and had used it against me the whole time. You know what I mean? We had talked about it a lot, and she had told me some of her stuff, and she had grown up sort of in a abusive situation, right? So we would talk and stuff, and then she would always bring up my abuse, and then of course say that she thought it was just too much and didn't want to hear it and couldn't help me, and then she'd bring it up again. Well, what about this? And you must be feeling this, and this. She would always use it against me, right, to make me feel bad, so that she could feel better and I would feel bad, and then of course she could nurture me then, right? Then I'm just all encompassed by her. Well, my mom was like that. You know what I mean? My mom was very much a psychologically abusive as well as physically abusive towards me. She was very much abusive all the way around, right? So I finally broke off that relationship. I said, that's it, done, no more. And I've really learned a lot over the last few years of how to not get involved in situations with people like that who are going to just use me, and then hurt me more than I've already been hurt. That's what I said. I put my foot down and I said, no more. I will take no more abuse in any kind of relationship. I don't care whether it's a friend or an acquaintance or my sweetheart, my husband, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. A family member, I don't have to take any more abuse. I'm a 45-year-old woman, and I put my foot down. I will not be mistreated ever again. And because I have the strength and the power to say that, people do tend to treat me with a little bit of respect now, and if they don't like what I'm doing, they stay away, because they realize that I'm just not taking any garbage off of them, and I'm not taking any more garbage off of anybody. And I had my dad living with me for a year, and I talked a lot about that last, probably the last month's worth of shows, that was hard because he's one of my abusers, right? But he's almost 90, so I mean, what can you do? And he's mentally ill, so I mean, and he's got Alzheimer's. I mean, the guy, I'm like, I told him though, I said, I'm 45 now, Dad. I'm not 12 years old. I don't have to put up with your fists. I don't have to put up with your words. I don't have to put up with your abuse, I'm not a kid anymore, I'm not 7 years old sitting on the couch being slapped around and choked by you anymore. I am a 45-year-old woman perfectly capable of living my life. I'm doing you a favor by letting you stay here, and I'm putting my foot down right now. You will not treat me abusively while you're here. This is my home. So, I mean, we have to do this as survivors of child abuse, right? If you or domestic violence, domestic violence and abuse is the same thing. It puts, you develop these things where you just let people abuse you. You let people walk all over you because you might be getting something out of the relationship, whatever it is. You might be getting a feeling like you're receiving some love, also abuse. But hey, there's love there too, and that's just not good. If a person is abusing us, they have no business being around us, and we have to be very careful as adult survivors to not allow ourselves to be re-victimized. You know what I mean? It is so easy for us because we're so used to living a certain way, living a certain way with these different boundaries that we will allow other people to cross, And when my dad moved in with me a year ago, I mean, I knew he couldn't, I was kind of fearing for my life a little bit because I thought he could kill me because he's very strong. But the thing is, at night I was kind of thinking, well, he might think I'm the devil and come in and kill me because my dad is mentally ill. He's borderline schizophrenic, and he's probably more than borderline. He is schizophrenic, and he's got a lot of problems, you know what I mean? And I feared for my life the whole time I lived in the house with him, you know what I mean? But this is the thing. I had him here for a year because he needed a place to stay. And so, that was fine. But the thing is it's very, very hard, and I had to put my foot down. We cannot allow people to re-victimize us. We cannot become re-victimized. I think this is so important for people who have survived child abuse, right, or domestic violence situations. We need to get ourselves free from people like that. Be very careful about the people we let into our lives, and people we have to learn to trust, right? And that's what I'm working on, right? And so, I'm willing to trust people, but then, as soon as I see some abusive behavior, I'm going to call that person on it. I'm going to say, look, I don't like the way you're treating me. If you cannot apologize and you cannot do better, you're out. You know what I mean? Because I don't tolerate any more of that crap. I had to grow up with that. I lived with that my whole life until I was 30, and I left my parents once and for all. Left their whole lives. I just moved on out 2,000 miles away, and because the psychological and emotional abuse was still going on at the age of 30. You know what I mean? These people were going to continue on until they died. Well, my mom did. She passed away when I was 30 years old. So just about a year after I moved to Canada when I was 29. Actually, I ran away when I was 29, and my mom was gone the next year. So, she was going to continue her abusive ways towards me until she dropped off the planet. And she was a miserable, hurtful woman. And it's horrible. And then my dad, he's still living, and he's still very much abusive. Not to other people. He's great to other people. He loves other people. He hates his children, and he hated his wife. He likes to say he loves his children and he loved his wife, right? But that's not the truth. He's not willing to look at this realistically and be honest with himself, and say, you know what, I did a lot of bad things, and I didn't really love my wife. I'd rather have him just be honest, you know what I mean? But he won't be honest because he's mentally ill, and he just thinks everything's just great, So this is the thing. We have to make sure that we do not allow ourselves to be re-victimized. We cannot. I just hope people will listen to this. If you're a survivor, and you're in an abusive relationship again after being abused as a child, you got to get some help, right? Do not allow yourself to be abused, right? This is ridiculous. As adults, we can put our foot down. As adults, it's our right to take our life back and say, look, this is my life. I'm going to choose who I let into it. And this is great. This is what it's all about. We get to choose who we let into our life. We don't have to put up with these adults or parents or siblings who abuse us as children. We don't have to put up with that. Not anymore. We're adult people, and we need to take charge of our lives, and we need to take charge of what direction our life is going in, what kind of boundaries we're going to set for ourselves, and really get some help. You know what I mean? Because it's horrible to be abused as a child and then have your life continually being bombarded with more abuse, whether it's a husband or wife, a girlfriend, boyfriend, friend, coworker. I don't care who it is. They have no right to treat us badly. They don't have a right to treat anyone badly. Chances are these people treat other people badly too, not just us. If they're abusive, they're abusive. You know what I mean? So make sure, be very, very careful about who you let in your life. And I mean, we have to learn to trust, and I do give people a chance, and I even give people a chance to make a mistake here and there, because I do. But then again, if they're just going to be abusive, flat out abusive, they are out of my life. Like that, like so fast, they don't even know what happened to them. They're out of my life, right? The minute somebody thinks they're going to try to be abusive towards me and think it's okay, no. Sorry, bye-bye. You know what I mean? So I cut people out really quick, and I have the ability to do that, thank God. I don't mind. Well, actually, it's probably because I grew up abused. I can cut people off in a second. But the thing is I don't want to, and it's very unfortunate. But if people are just going to be mean and abusive, they don't need to be in my life. If I have cut family members off, certain family members, I have no desire to talk to them ever again. And I don't care what they're doing, and I will not probably show up to their funeral because they are still very much abusive and psychologically abusive, and they're not there for me. They never were, they never have been. So why should I care? Why should I spend a lot of time worrying about people who don't care about me? You know what I mean? If a person doesn't care about you and they're just hurting you, why would we want to focus our attention on them? You know, we need to focus our attention on ourselves and on our own lives and get our own lives going, and find out what we want to do and what makes us happy, and then and then get involved with people who want to be part of that. You know what I mean? And learn how to nurture ourselves and how to love this life and how to love ourselves and move forward at our own pace and get some help. We all deserve it. You know what I mean? And there's too many survivors out here who are saying the same thing. You know what I mean? And they've been there and they've done it. So we got to do that. We have to make sure that we follow through with this, you know. So what I think is interesting about narcissism and codependence is that, you know, narcissists don't want their superiority challenged, and so they engage in relationships with individuals who are prepared to remain subservient, like codependents, and that's us. That's people that might be codependent, right? That's me. Codependents also find it difficult to make decisions and always checking with others before making choices. That I've actually learned how to stop doing that, and now I'm perfectly willing to make decisions if I need to on my own, and I don't necessarily feel like I always check with people before making choices, and I do the best I can, and that's all I can do. It says, however, by subordinating his needs to the narcissist, the codependent puts himself in a position whereby he or she feels the need to defend the behavior of his narcissistic partner, boss, or friend. And he takes on the psychological defenses and survival behaviors of the narcissist. And this ultimately results in a codependent behavior characterized by dishonesty and denial. And that's what I was doing years ago with that friend of mine. I didn't like the way she was treating people, but I always took her side. I didn't necessarily take on her behaviors, but what I did was I was always making excuses for her behavior and taking her side, and even though I didn't like it, and I did, however, like her very much. We were best friends, but I didn't like the way she was treating people. You know what I mean? But there was not much I could do because in that situation, she was all superior. She was all powerful. She would say, "I'm all powerful. I'm omnipotent. I am all superior, and I'm the boss, and I make all the decisions. And if people don't like it, there's the door." You know. That was her attitude, right? So it was hard to be around that. Finally, when I started speaking out against it, we ended up not being friends because she didn't want one person to challenge her superiority, and even her best friend. So she always had told me that she had problems making friends and wouldn't keep friends because she had to be the one who always was always on top, superior. And she was very much aware of that and would admit that. So we had like a 13-year friendship, and I thought, hey, we made it. You know, we've survived this 13-year friendship with both of us with our own problems, and we've had a good time, and it was great. And she is an awesome person, really. But we can't hang out together because she's a narcissist, I'm a codependent, and we just don't. It'll end up in a bad thing, you know what I mean? And so we spent 12, 13 years doing that. So it's too bad we can't hang out because neither one of us want to get help with that, right? So that's too bad. That's what I'm doing. I'm working through it. I hope that she is, and I wish her well. So we have about a minute left. Tomorrow we're going to look at some more of this, to really take a look at what is narcissism. You know, can you recognize a narcissist? Are you a narcissist? What is a narcissist, right? So this is what we're going to look at tomorrow morning. And so I hope you'll join me 7 o'clock, same time, 7 o'clock a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. I hope you have an awesome day. And get a hold of me if you need something. Send me a message, or I'm on Facebook if you need to get a hold of me, and if you need anything, that'd be great. I have a guest coming on my show, Ray Luskin, next Monday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And Ray Luskin, she's going to talk to us a lot about healing and wholeness, and I hope that she will be there. It's going to be an hour-long program, August the 16th, Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it's just going to be great. It's going to be so good. I hope that you will tune in. She's an awesome lady, and she's going to be a guest on my show, and might be a regular if she feels comfortable and likes doing it. She might come on and be a regular guest and talk a lot about what she knows about, which is healing and wholeness for survivors, right? So join us then, and join Elizabeth Brawley on Dreamcatchers Talk Radio tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, www.blogtalkradio.com/Dreamcatchers. And Elizabeth Brawley will be on, and it'll be her show, and she's such an awesome lady, and I just love her so much. She's a survivor, and she's got a lot of good stuff to tell us, so we got to make sure we tune into that. So have a great day, everybody, and take care of yourselves. Make sure you just keep reaching out, get some help, hold on to that hope, right? Don't ever give up. Never, ever, ever, ever give up. That's what I got to say this morning. Never give up. I'm so glad I didn't give up, and I'm really sad that my brothers gave up, and that's what I'm saying to you. Don't ever give up. I wish my brothers were here today and somebody had gotten through to them to tell them to not give up and end their lives, and just give up on life. And, it's so sad that they're not here today. I wish that they were. And I'm so glad that I did not give up, and drive my car over the Grand Canyon or kill myself so many years ago. I'm thankful to be here today. I'm very thankful because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can see that there is light and there is truth out there, and there is goodness out there, and there's good people out there. And this life is worth living, and I'm so glad to be able to say this because I win. I win this fight over my abusers. My parents don't win. My mom doesn't win. My dad doesn't win. I win because I win this fight. I mean, I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful I hung in there. That's why I want you to hang in there too, right? So make sure you do and get some help. Reach out to someone, counselor, therapist, crisis support group, crisis line, whatever you have to do. But make sure you do make the phone calls because people do care. There's a lot of good people out there, and I've run into hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So make sure you do get some help, okay? And we'll talk to you real soon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.